Tuesday, November 15, 2016. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you. Mayor Coviello,
Here.
Vice Mayor Ross, Commissioner Jonas.
Yep.
Commissioner Anderson advises that he will not be in today, but I have not heard from Commissioner Watts.
Okay. Before we do the pledge, I'd like to acknowledge, we just celebrated Veterans Day this past Friday, so I'd like to acknowledge the veterans in the audience. So if you would please stand. And I'd also like to invite Dan Samaria to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Doc?
You want me to stand?
Yeah. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dan. All right, we have a number of presentations this evening, so I'd like to welcome up Captain Pineda. We have the swearing in of a few reserve police officers.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce the two newest members of our village police department. First, we have Officer Madeline Valdez. She's from the City of Doral Police Department. She worked with them for 5 years, where she was involved in many community-related activities with the department, including the DARE program. She has a master's degree in criminal justice and is currently working on a second master's in human resources management. Also, we have Officer Osvaldo Frank Castillo. Has had a distinguished 30-year law enforcement career with the Metro-Dade Police Department, where he recently retired as a sergeant. He has spent the last 10 years supervising the civil process unit, where he's excelled in conflict resolution and community relations. His experience has proven valuable in helping mentor our newer officers.
Well, I can't. He's in there.
I, Madeline Valdez. Do solemnly swear. That I will support. Protect and defend. The Constitution and government. Of the United States. Against all enemies. Both foreign and domestic. And I will bear true faith. And allegiance to the same. And I am entitled to hold. Office under the Constitution. And I will faithfully perform. All duties of the office. Of reserve police officer. For the Village of Biscayne Park Police Department. Of which I am about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations.
I am Officer Castillo.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear
That I will support, protect,
that I will support and protect
and defend the Constitution
and defend the Constitution
and government of the United States.
and the government of the United States
And the state of Florida.
Florida,
Against all enemies.
against all enemies,
Both foreign and domestic.
both foreign and domestic,
And I will bear true faith.
and
And allegiance to the same.
allegiance to the same,
And I am entitled
that I am entitled
to hold office
to hold office
under the Constitution.
under the Constitution,
And I will faithfully perform
and I will faithfully perform
all duties of the office
all duties of the office
of reserve police officer
of reserve police officer
for the Village of Biscayne Park Police Department,
for the Village of Biscayne Park Police Department,
of which I am about to enter.
of which I am about to enter.
So help me.
So help me God.
Officer Valdez and Officer Castillo. Welcome to the Village of Biscayne Park family. I want to also thank our village police officers for being here and supporting our new officers. And thank you, Captain Pineda. All right, we have the next item, we have a recognition of police officers. Captain Pineda.
Yes, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize Officer Omar Martinez, Biscayne Park officer for 5 years now. And Officer Martinez, since September 16th of this year, he's had 5 initiated arrests, and one of them being a burglary in progress that occurred to one of the residences in our village. While responding, they put out a broadcast for a vehicle. He saw the vehicle, matching the description, stopped them. We ended up taking into custody an individual, the driver, who had all the belongings of the victim in the back of the car. He was a career criminal with an extensive past and served time in prison. All of this while still responding to 54 calls for service during this time. And at this time, I'd just like to recognize him and give him an attaboy. Great job.
Officer Martinez, thank you for your work for the village and for keeping us safe. You all do a tremendous job, and we appreciate it every day, so thank you. All right, we have a recognition of volunteers. Shalisha, do you want to come up? And also Captain Pineda.
Absolutely. Although he's gotten a lot of accolades recently for his award-winning crime watch practices, I'd like to recognize Chuck Ross for the Safe Community programs, that Safe Community event that he put together at the Ed Burke Center last month. It was phenomenal. We had representatives from all different types of law enforcement agencies and other organizations, and it was very informative, and overall I think everybody had a great time. So thank you, Chuck, for your endless
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, I don't have much of an award, but I just want to share. Just want to say thank you to Rosemary, not only for helping out above and beyond the Halloween, but since I've been here, Rosemary's come in at least 3 times a week for at least 4 or 5 hours. You know, she buys some candy and coffee, and keeps me going during the week. And so just want to say thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. All right, what a way to start a meeting. All good news, positive news. I'd like to welcome Amy Raymond, Public Art Advisory Board. She has an announcement regarding the mural design.
Madam Manager, Commissioners, Mayor. So the announcement is that we had over 200 residents come out to the Recreation Center on voting day to vote for the next mural that we're going to be putting into on the north wall of the Recreation Center, exactly parallel to the fish mural. So of the 209 voters, there were 3 designs, and they chose design number 1, which had the turtle in it. And so that was, and also the residents were extremely generous, and we raised $205 for the cost of materials for the mural. So thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, Amy. Any additions, deletions, or withdrawals from the agenda? Madam Manager? No? Okay, from the commission? Yes? Okay.
And I'd like to take some things off the consent agenda.
Okay. Tell us what those are.
I'd like to pull 7A.
I'm sorry, please rely on your microphone.
When you get to consent, you can do that. Oh, okay.
But do you have something to add, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do that first?
I wanted to add a discussion item. The subject of which is, should one hold office and vote on village manners when one does not or may not be intended to live in the village in the foreseeable future?
Okay. Does she speak up?
I got it on. Okay, should one, this is a discussion item, and give my background analysis later, but should one hold office, I think, and vote on village matters when one does not or may not intend to live in the village in the foreseeable future?
Okay. All right, we'll add that to the agenda as a discussion item. Anything else?
Okay.
Commissioner Watts? Okay. All right, that's it. So we'll move on to public comments. Anyone wishing to make public comment, please come up and state your name and address for the record.
Chester Morris, 734 Northeast 119th Street. First of all, I see on, I guess it's resolution 2016-37, we're looking to buy police cars. Personally, I think you should wait to the next commission, which is going to be sworn in probably 1 month. Let them be part of the discussion group and decide what you want to do. That's my personal opinion. You can do whatever you want to do, but that's what I would do. Secondly, now for the good news. Every year, Rotary provides you with $1,000 for Summerfest. Sometimes we've done it for Winterfest. So it varies. And the way we get this money is we sell flags. We charge $50 and we put flags up 4 times a year. We store them, we take them down, we put them up, and you've probably seen us old guys running around in a car trying to do this. It's a very worthwhile project. Besides the money that you get, we also provide anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 a year for every school in this area. So I would like the people of Biscayne Park to get a little bit more involved. I've been a Rotarian for many, many years. And I'd like to see you coming up with a few extra bucks, namely $50, and we'll take care of all the flags for you. We put them up on Veterans Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, and the 4th of July. And beside the schools and to help you all out, we also have a lot of other projects that we do. So I would like you really to start thinking about this. It looks beautiful. Down our street I had 4 flags, and it really was magnificent. On Miami Shores, on the bay, there's a guy that puts up, I think, around 12 flags every single time, and it is absolutely magnificent when you see them all flying. I'm an old vet, so it goes to my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Anyone else? Commissioner Truckman?
Elect, but thank you. Not yet. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be very brief, and it has to do with transparency. I requested to the village manager, and I'm going to request again to the commissioners, that items 7A, B, C, and A to B be pulled from this evening's agenda, primarily because when it was announced that you were having a special commission meeting, it was announced for the sole purpose of the 2015 budget. These are expenditure items on 16-17. If there's one of those items that I'm not aware of that requires pressing need, then please go ahead and express that. And if not, please explain why these need to be put through immediately. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Mac, welcome.
Matt Kennedy, 11705 Northeast 11th Place. I know you're going to discuss cats tonight. I'm the person who brought that forward, so thank you for doing that. I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I'm not sure I completely understand the ordinance. I read it. I'm not sure I understand it because it says you can't feed more than 4 cats at a time outside. Is that what it intends to do?
So people could feed 4 or fewer cats outside, but they can't feed more than 4. Is that correct? Okay, well, I'm not certain how that accomplishes anything at all. First of all, it seems completely unenforceable, so I don't know why you bother doing that. And I'm not certain what it accomplishes. If someone's feeding 4 cats, someone's feeding 5 cats, what's the difference? We're encouraging feral cats in the village and still causing all the problems. Yes, I'm going to shake my head yes. So it's not accomplishing anything at all. So I really don't understand the ordinance. I do appreciate that I have been pushing for this and you're trying to do something, but I don't think this is really going to, it doesn't appear to me that it's going to do much. And then I just heard that, someone wants to talk about whether people should be making decisions who are sitting up there if they intend to leave the village. I think it's worth pointing out that at some point all 5 of you will leave the village. So if you're going to use that logic, then none of you should be sitting up there and we shouldn't have a commission at all because you're all going to leave at some point, one way or the other. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Meg. Anyone else? Okay, we do have, I generally don't, the policies that we generally don't read emails that were submitted into the record, but Jenny Johnson Sardella, who's been elected to the commission, asked that we read an email, so I will allow it this one time. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, residents. Mayor Coviello, Commissioners, Village Manager Sharon Rangunen, Village Clerk Maria Camara, and Attorney Hearn. First, I want to provide a sincere apology for not being able to make tonight's meeting. My comments tonight relate to the manner in which this special meeting was called and agenda items contained therein. As some of you may know, a main concern during my campaign was to advocate for transparency in our municipal government and providing our residents with full disclosure. Tonight's meeting was originally scheduled and noticed for the sole purpose of approving the ordinance amending the 2015 budget, Ordinance 2016-09, on second reading. However, the agenda was later amended to include several additional items that should be scheduled for a regular meeting of the Commission. While this meeting is deemed a special meeting, it is not clear from the documents provided to the public that the additional items under the consent or item 8B were requested by a call of the mayor or 4 members of the Commission, which is required by our charter. In addition, it appears that the supporting memorandum for item 7A, Resolution 2016-37, designates this item as an item for a regular meeting. The consent agenda items 7A through C are fiscal expenditures that should be properly noticed at a regular meeting of the Commission rather than being added to a special Commission meeting after the fact. I would like to reassure the community that moving forward, any special meetings called by the mayor or any 4 commissioners will be disclosed as such to the public so that the public is aware of all agenda items requiring a special meeting in a timely manner, especially items directly affecting our residents or our village finances, ensuring that all meetings are truly public in nature as required by our charter and Florida statute. Thank you, Jenny Johnson Sardella.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any other public comment? All right, we'll close the public comment period and move on to item 7. We'll move on to the consent agenda.
So first, I think Commissioner Watts wants to poll.
Yes.
Okay.
7A, 7B, and I know that the 7C is a matter of housekeeping with our contractor David Conservative, so that, to my mind, it could stay there, but I think that the other ones should. And then 8A should, well, that's on consent.
Yeah, that's not consent.
Okay.
Okay, so you're, Commissioner Watts, you're suggesting we pull 7A and 7B and 7C stays, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the balance of the consent agenda.
Second. Okay, motion to approve item 7C, correct? Okay, and a second by Commissioner Jonas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll have a discussion now. Any other comments on Commissioner Watts's request to pull? Well, I guess that they've been 7A and 7B, so we'll pull those for discussion. Okay. All right, so we'll take 7A first, 2016-37.
I guess I'll read the title.
Sure.
Hold it. This resolution 2016-37 is a resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, authorizing the village manager to execute the lease agreement for 4 police vehicles for the police department, providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Village Attorney. Madam Manager, any input on this item?
Thank you, Mayor.
The item placed before you today is based on the item that, based on the budget, the current budget that was approved. We also acknowledging that we do have some vehicles that are aging, and so it leaves us in a situation, either liable for a situation to occur should our officers not be able to operate the vehicle lawfully, and therefore it may cause an accident, but also because it's not only are they it's related to public safety, safety comes first, so we wanted to make sure that we have an item that we know that takes almost 10 months for us to receive, that our police vehicles are purchased, so that we can provide them with the vehicles that they need to be safe and serve.
Okay, thank you, Madam Manager. Comments from the Commission? Commissioner Jones?
Yeah. First of all, I want to just clarify. The item 7A says lease. Chester Morris thought this was a purchase, and Sharon Ragunan just used the word purchase. Is this a purchase or a lease?
It is a lease, I do apologize.
All right,
Yes,
that's
sir.
it.
It is a lease that results in the ability to purchase at the end of the lease.
Not required, but
It's for $1.
Yeah.
so, right. So I'm sort of at a loss. We're talking about this because it was pulled from consent. So the question is why it was pulled from consent. And I'm really at a loss about that. All three of the consent items, A, B, and C, had to do with expenditures, and I'm not sure why A and B are unique in ways that C is not. So I'm really not sure I understand the theory of why this was pulled in the first place, but I think part of the underlying argument for it, despite the fact that it's not clear why it wasn't considered under consent, is that the current sitting commission is somehow, I guess, theoretically disqualified from ruling on issues like this, and I really don't understand that either. This is a duly elected commission. This is village business. And I don't really understand why this is being treated in a special way and particularly different from something else in item 7, which is 7C, that's similar in that all of them are expenditures. So my sense is that there's really no identifiable, or at least not obvious to me, reason that this commission would not simply make a ruling on this the way we make rulings on all kinds of things all the time. It's what the commission does.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Jones. Vice Mayor Ross, any thoughts?
I'm curious, Commissioner Watts, for your commentary since you pulled.
If you look back at the agendas of our special commission meetings that happen every November for the sole purpose of the second reading of the ordinance amending the previous year's budget, the meeting is called for that particular purpose, and there are no other agenda items. So I assume that most people didn't even pay attention to this. And if that's the case, I think that people didn't know about it. Number two, so that's a precedent. Okay, then we have to ask why. The three candidates who ran for election questioned the police budget and wanted to scrutinize it. And I think that, though we budgeted for the leasing of these cars, when we budget for something, that doesn't mean we have to go through and pay for it. And I think they should have the opportunity to look at it. And I think it's odd that supposedly this was jammed on or pushed through just so that it would be on the agenda before the new commission. 6 months or however many months it takes to lease a vehicle, I don't think 16 days between this meeting and the meeting when the new commission will be sworn in is that long a period to wait. The other reason is that we have not yet hired a new police chief, but we have one who has resigned. Now, my brief experience in the last 5 years is that with each police chief comes in with a whole different idea about what to buy, how to buy it, and what is needed. And I think it would behoove us to listen to the wisdom of the new police chief. In the past, people have said, oh, Commissioner Chief Artesiano, we follow his advice, and people would cite that advice even after he has left here. And the police chief comes in. For instance, if we want to rent things, or lease these new cars, what about the darkly tinted windows that the police chief had, done for the police vehicles now? I think that actually he may have violated a Florida statute because only cars, according to the Florida statutes, only vehicles that are private or investigative vehicles, like that aren't don't have the signature of the Village of Biscayne Park for private investigations, are exempt from the window tinting law. So I think that I would like to hear our new police chief weigh in on the value of having windows tinted. He also might like to switch out a vehicle for something that costs less. And so I think that to buy these things before we have a police chief, is counterproductive.
Okay, Vice Mayor Ross?
Yeah. So we went through a budget process, and as part of that budget process, we examined the police department and the police department budget. We had workshops and we had public hearings where people came and commented on different aspects of the budget. I don't recall anyone commenting on the police budget. The village has always been very supportive of our police. The residents are very supportive of making sure that the police have the tools necessary in order to do their jobs and to keep the village safe. And I think that when we make a plan, and we make that plan in the public, that's transparency.
I disagree.
To suddenly reverse something that has already been put in motion, to me, that is the opposite. I also am noting...
Commissioner Ross,
sorry.
that has been finished.
I thought she was.
Did you have more comment? Okay. So I'm also noting that when we went through the budget process, we also had the activity and the projected activity through last year's budget. And so in last year's budget, we had, at the time, already spent $25,000 in repairs, and we were projecting to spend a total of $35,000 in vehicle repairs for these old vehicles that we have to keep patching up. It is, that $35,000 expense is actually more than what is being proposed to be paid for these leases. Now, knowing that once we place the order for the vehicles, and the orders can only be placed after the commission approves the purchase, then it's going to take 6 months before, 6 to 10 months before the vehicles are actually delivered and payments are made on that lease purchase. It seems to me rather foolish to throw away another $30,000 or $35,000 in vehicle repairs when we can have the new cars. And for the most part, they are the cars that the village has been purchasing since, 2013 is where we have Fords coming in. So it's not like we're making some odd purchase. We're purchasing the same vehicle that our officers are already using, and it's actually the vehicle that most police forces, public safety forces in the state use. We happen to be piggybacking off of a larger agency's contract, and for that reason, we're able to get the best price possible for these vehicles. I did have a conversation earlier today with the manager about one vehicle which maybe should be at the discretion of the new police chief to decide what what that purchase is going to be, but I leave it up to the manager's discretion to hold back on that purchase and get the new chief's input. I want to say he, but it may be a she, who knows. So for these reasons, I think that it's perfectly appropriate for us to proceed with the item 7A.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor Ross. I think that, rather than get into the merits of whether we need to lease these 4 vehicles, I think we've already had that discussion as part of the budget process, and we've already discussed that in open meetings, so I don't think it's necessary to rehash that. So really the issue is, comes down, in my opinion, is should this commission continue doing its job in passing and adopting these types of things, or should we simply defer that to the next commission? And just because this is our last meeting doesn't necessarily, I don't agree with the notion that we should somehow stop doing what we're supposed to do. It's sort of like, the Republicans wanted, well, that's the analogy, the Supreme Court analogy. So I think, again, I'm in support of doing what we're supposed to do. We're still sitting up here as commissioners and as one body. And so I'm comfortable moving forward with something that we've planned and discussed at length.
David, I have one other question.
Sure.
Yeah. Barbara, I'm just curious to ask you, in view of the theory you expressed having to do with that you feel that somehow this was not adequately advertised or noticed, why did you not also recommend to pull item 7C? Why did you leave that there?
Because I talked with our attorney, and the reason that he wanted this on the agenda was that David Caserta's contract is changing because we didn't budget the same amount for him this year. And so his contract, if I understood it correct, is a running contract. So next month we would start to be paying him twice as much as actually we budgeted for this year. So I understood that as being a housekeeping item, whereas I truly think that, and it's only 16 days that the new commission is in, it seems oddly coincidental that one of the candidates at Meet the Candidates meeting talked about those police cars. Now, that candidate and all of the candidates, when talking with the village manager, may well realize, yes, it's cost effective to buy those cars, but I don't see why it was ramrodded in, added onto this agenda where there's no precedent for having a second. It wasn't advertised, it wasn't discussed at the last meeting what that special meeting was to be about. It was solely to be about the passing of the second reading of the ordinance.
And taking care of Dave Concerta's contract. According to you, Barbara, you feel that that's okay?
I make a motion
Because it
that
will
we
save us
approve.
money.
But let me just ask.
Half the amount of money we'll be
Okay,
paying.
before you do that, Commissioner Vice Mayor Ross, let me just ask our village attorney, are we doing anything that's improper with respect to the protocol for special meetings? I know Jenny Johnson-Sardella mentioned a number of things in her email that perhaps we're not doing things according to the code and the charter, but are we doing everything proper?
Right, so the question, the first question is, you have a special meeting. Charter says it's got to be the request of the mayor or four commissioners. As I understand it, Mayor, you had conversations with the manager before our last meeting that there would be a special meeting coming up, and you agreed to that meeting. We announced it at that meeting, and so from a legal point of view, yes, the commission was fully aware. You called it because you didn't object to it, and I think you had conversations supporting it. And I think the commission did because we always have the budget ordinance. So when you have a special meeting, then what the law provides is, if there's something quasi-judicial, if it's something affecting an individual property like a variance or rezoning, then there's different notices, right? And we saw a variance recently at our last meeting where you swear people in because it actually affects them. Other than that, there's just a regular notice, except our ordinances also are required to be separately noticed for our second reading. I confirmed that occurred, both those ordinances. At that point then, you can add to the agenda without any other notice than the notice that you're having a regular or a special meeting, and we do that all the time. Of course, things are added, things are put on an agenda that you're not hearing about, but when the manager's operating her city, she puts things on, whether they're contracts, resolutions, whatever they are. And in fact, what the law says, and again, of course, you always want to have as much transparency, all the transparency in the world, but you can always add something to an agenda. We just added an item today, for example. If someone else wanted an item that was important, we would add it. So from a legal point of view, yes, legally, the meeting was properly called, properly noticed. The two ordinances needed a separate notice. I confirmed that they were noticed. So legally, you can, of course, address it, or you can continue it. You have those options.
Okay, thank you.
David?
May I make a motion?
Okay,
I just
one more comment?
Yeah, one other comment. Yeah, I'm sorry. Here's my problem. Setting aside that we are a duly elected commission, and it's still our term, and this is village business. Setting all of that aside, and I will tell you now that my inclination is to be disposed toward agreeing to this. The only reason I can think that, at least that I would want to have this held over to the next commission is in case the next commission would not agree to it. Otherwise, there's no value in holding it over. But if I know we're talking about very aged police vehicles that become either dangerous or unreliable, then it seems to me I'd be very, very irresponsible not to want to push this through when I could, but rather leave it over to somebody who might not want to do it. And I don't think I want to be that irresponsible.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jonas. Vice Mayor Ross, you want to make a motion?
Yes, I make a motion that we approve resolution 2016-37.
Second.
Okay, motion by Vice Mayor Ross, second by Commissioner Jonas. We don't need a roll call, correct? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Okay, motion carries 3-1. All right, you also pulled item 2016-38.
Mayor, this is a resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement between the Village of Biscayne Park and A&A Drainage and Vac Services, Inc. for maintenance of stormwater drains and sanitary sewer facilities, providing for an effective date.
All right, thank you, Mr. Village Attorney. Madam Manager?
Sure, Mayor and Commission, this item is to basically institute a pilot program for us to address our aging infrastructure with respect to our drains. We don't have the technical staff or team to deal with some of the issues that might be present. I talked with other cities that have maintenance, stormwater maintenance programs, and to see what the best practice is, and they recommended that we, since we don't have the expertise on staff, we would go ahead and in the case here, City of Weston recommended to piggyback on their contract since they went ahead and went through a competitive bidding process. And as a result, we're seeking approval to approve this item so that we can start addressing the issues that are out there, known and unknown. But also the program, SURA, also allows us to go ahead and identify the locations of each of these structures, and as well as go ahead and clean out any issues or identify any issues that later on that might present a greater problem. It allows us also to prepare for the next season, which is hurricane season, which will be coming up very shortly. So we wanted to just get the ball moving to address some of these concerns.
Okay, thank you, Madam Manager. Comments, questions from the Commissioner? Commissioner Watts, did you want to start since you pulled that?
No point.
I'm sorry?
There's no point.
Okay. Do you want to
No.
put it back? Okay. No comments? All right. Vice Mayor Ross.
I have a comment, and I think that maybe we should amend the resolution to call it the Bob Anderson Pilot Program, because Bob has been advocating for years to have regular service of our drains, and I'm glad to see that we're finally going to put something in place to address it. So I make a motion that we approve resolution 2016-38.
Good, is there a second?
With the new title?
Yes.
Second.
All right, so motion by Vice Mayor Ross, second by Commissioner Jonas. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-1.
So at the end of that resolution, in parentheses, we'll add that word.
Okay, moving on to second reading, ordinance 2016-09.
Mayor, this is an ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, pursuant to section 166.041 Florida statutes to amend ordinance 2015-07, adopted on September 24, 2015, finalizing and adopting the annual operating budget for the fiscal year 2015-16 by amending various parts of the budget consistent with Exhibit A attached to Year 2, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for effective date. It's request to approve and adopt. Second reading. Open to the public.
All right, so we'll open up the public hearing for ordinance 2016-09. Anyone wishing to make public comment? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Discussion?
I'm ready to propose a motion.
Okay.
I move that we adopt ordinance 2016-9 on second reading, amending the budget for fiscal year ended September 16.
Okay, so there's a motion by Vice Mayor Ross. Is there a second?
Yep.
Second by Commissioner Jonas. Any other discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Jonas?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Watts?
Yes.
And Mayor Coviello.
Yes. All right, motion carries 4-0. Ordinance 2016-10.
This is an ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, amending section 14.1 of the Land Development Code entitled Compliance Procedure to address open feeding that causes the gathering of more than 4 dogs or 4 cats or combination thereof in violation of section 3-21 of the Village Code. provided for conflict, provided for severability, provided for inclusion, provided for effective dates, request to adopt and approve it as second reading, spoken to the public. And Mayor, just because the issue came up and we can quickly address it, this is not actually the 4 cats, 4 dogs is already, as you're all aware, in our village ordinances. This is actually to allow an administrative citation through the administrative process. And that was a discussion that this commission had. I think was to at least try this process and see if there are any other processes that are available. But that's just to clarify the question.
Okay.
To the public, sorry.
All right, thank you. Nothing? Okay. Is there any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, we'll open up the public hearing. Anyone wish to make public comment? No? We'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to discussion? Motion?
Yeah, discussion. Yeah.
Okay.
So I understand that this is really only about the administrative fine, but what I want to know is there any room within this consideration to adjust the language so that it does not refer to a number of animals?
No, because it's not even amending that section of the code. I think if we wanted to address that, we can address that, but we would do it separately. Because this is not actually amending the 2-31 that has that in the code. It's actually amending section 14.1, which is simply the way we enforce it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good idea. We should do it. I have no problem with that. The only example I would give of the nature of the problem has to do with a walk Matt Kennedy and I took one morning a couple weeks ago, and there was a woman putting out food for a cat, and we asked her, how many cats does she feed? And she said, I don't know, however many come around. So it doesn't really do any good to specify a number. The issue, as Matt pointed out, is the open feeding, not how many cats the person, or dogs, the person imagines are responding to this open feeding.
Other comments?
I disagree. Some people, I have taken in a feral in the last year and a half, or a feral had adopted me, and it took me 3 months of me feeding her on the front porch, just a little thing at a time, to get her to come near me and to get into the house. Sometimes I do feed her in the house, and then she goes back out. I don't have open feeding, but if I put her dish out, if she's having one of those squirrely, nervous days, I sit with her while it's outside, and I don't think everything's wrong with that. And it's not feeding 10 animals and possums and leaving food out, but sometimes these things are necessary, and I think we have the right to do that.
Vice Mayor Ross, any thoughts?
The code section that's in front of us is really the penalty, the civil penalty. So I don't have the other part in front of me, but my recollection is that there's a presumption that there's going to be a gathering of animals if you have food laid out open. I don't know if you can refer to it, but if you have copies of it, I don't.
Yeah, I actually don't, but if there's food that's laid out and the code enforcement officer knows who laid it out, and then there are 4 or more cats or dogs eating from it at that point, yes, that's the point that you can find that as a violation.
I think the issue is that we wanted to add this to the civil citation to at least to begin to address the issue, and we had the discussion as to whether to amend the code to prohibit outdoor feeding or to even take other steps. But that's an entirely different process that we would have to go through as part of a code amendment. So I think this is just limited to the civil citation section.
Correct.
Is there a motion to
Yeah,
approve it?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Jonas, second by Vice Mayor Ross. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Watts?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Jonas?
Yes.
Mayor Coviello?
Yes. Okay, motion carries 4-0. Village manager reports.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. This was just to give you some highlights of what's occurred over the last 60 days, basically highlighting some of the achievements from the staff, and then giving you a look at what's ahead. What's included in the first bullet is the update to the financial profit report That was created a couple months ago to help track the items that were approved in the current fiscal year budget, so it'll help in terms of monitoring not only the expenditures, but also savings and completion rates. And you'll notice that there were just a couple of items where we actually did go ahead and complete some work, which created an expense, but also in one instance, you notice that we did have a savings with respect to, we initially budgeted for the Halloween, the actual cost was over $1,500, but we still have a balance of almost $500, so we did save on there. But equally important is what we've added to the report is to come up with a way, the finance manager came up with a way to quantify the hours of that our volunteers commit every day on boards and different activities. And we wanted to recognize the fact that there is a value to having volunteers and what does it mean to not only the services that we provide and the decisions that we make, but it also shows that in the attachment that you see related to this item, that was about valuable $1,600. Then some of the other items were a request to take care of the plantings that we had throughout the village, specifically the log cabin and the community signs, dealing with some infestation at our rec center, having some, starting a monthly publication through our police department, submitting our applications so that we can get recognized again for the Tree City USA designation. Our Public Arts Advisory Board assisted with the submittal of an application for participation in a program called Inside Out, which will allow, if we do receive approval, it would allow replicas of artwork that they have in their collection to place in strategic locations throughout our community, as well as some street patching work and the commencement of the driveway permits as a result of the recent passage or defeat of the ordinance amendment for the driveway ordinance. On the horizon, we have the orientation that we'll be working on for our elected as well as our newly elected officials. That'll be on December 6th. We look forward to starting the budgeting process early for the fiscal year 2017-18 budget, as well as a presentation before the commission for your 2014-15 CAFR report. I plan to provide you with a report later in terms of what is the transition plan for both our police chief who has resigned as well as our code compliance officer who has resigned, and to also just to inform you of some time off that I'll be taking starting on November 23rd all the way through November 30th, and I'll return on December 1st.
Okay, Madam Manager, thank you. Can you also, I know we discussed this recently, but the county or North Miami is doing a chlorination. Are they doing a chlorination of the water? I've read.
Oh, the chlorination, I think.
Chlorination?
I thought you said coronation.
Chlorination. That hasn't occurred?
I think it has, and we put some information out there regarding it.
It has, but the water tastes terrible.
Okay, well maybe we should send an e-blast out notifying folks that's what it is.
Okay.
We already did it?
I thought we did.
Okay, I apologize.
I thought we did, yeah.
And Mayor, right before,
Yes.
and just to follow up on what Sharon was reading, that there is the followed by Vice Mayor Ross, there is the presumption any open feeding that causes a gathering of more than 4 dogs before catching combination, there is evidence of a violation of the section.
So it's not required that the code officer witness 4 cats together?
If there's, it's very fact, and what can he show to indicate that, right? And so it's fact intensive. There's many ways that he can show that.
Okay, and Commissioner Watts, you had an item that you wanted to discuss.
Here's my background analysis. Okay, it just bothers me. The House, because I'm thinking back to when Noah Jacobs ran for office, and he was roundly criticized as being someone who should not be running for office because he was a renter, because the house was technically owned by his family, the family of his wife. They're privileged, they're going to inherit it and live there forever. So that, with that in mind, with the very vocal people who said that he shouldn't even run for a commission, I thought about this. The house of a member of the commission is for sale. This does not present a legal issue with respect to the charter, but to my mind, it poses an ethical one. Unless the commissioner pledges his or her intent to remain a resident of the village, should he or she remain on the commission and vote on all items that will significantly affect the village for years to come. Granted, anyone can go toes up at any time, but that is fate, not a choice. Is it ethical to saddle a village with the consequences of one's decisions when you will not also be affected by them? That's just not an issue to bring up.
Okay.
And there's a house for sale that's very large on my property. I've told you that twice.
So yeah, obviously you're referring to me, and the cat's smack the cat's out of the bag, I guess, is my house is for sale. I'm going through some personal issues that I don't wish to discuss this evening, but I will tell you that my house is for sale. I haven't decided yet whether to remain in the village, but Mr. Village Attorney, if you can clarify, so long as I'm a resident of the village, that I'm eligible to serve on the commission?
Yes.
Is that
Right,
correct?
as long as you continue to qualify as residents and not convicted of a felony, et cetera,
Okay.
you're a full member.
So my intentions are to continue to serve the commission and the village well, provided I am a resident, and that's all I'd like to say at this point. Any other comments from the commission?
I just have a question.
Sure.
Barbara, did you think Noah should have resigned because he was only a renter?
No.
Oh, so you were very permissive
Well,
about that?
yeah, that
Okay.
he's going to live in that house in the foreseeable future.
Well, we don't know that.
You know that.
We don't know that.
Well,
If there had been an intention for Noah's in-laws to give the house to Noah and his wife, they could have done that already.
we all know that there are...
But you're just permissive about that, and that's fine. That's all I wanted to know.
No, I think that, granted someone is a long-time resident in the village, yes, but someone who's going to move in, to make the decision based upon swales and things like that and driveways that will affect the pocketbooks of so many people in the village. I just have my questions about it.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah,
Vice Mayor Rose?
I just want to point out that we, not only serve here on the commission, but we also have lives and families and children and parents and aunts and uncles and people who rely on us. And yes, we're making decisions for the village, but I have no reason to believe that anyone on this commission is going to intentionally make a bad choice. We're all very deliberate in our discussions, in our research, in coming to these decisions, and it's never done without adequate preparation and thought to it. And with regard to our personal lives, because we serve here and we're in the public eye, does not mean that we give up our privacy. And so we have to make choices for our families and for ourselves, and those I think we have every right to keep in private. So I appreciate your service on the commission, David, and for as long as you can serve with us, I hope you continue to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Clerk, announcements. Yes.
Because this is Commissioner Jonas's last meeting with us.
Well,
I wanna-
no, you all will serve at the next meeting. You will all be at the dais.
Okay, well, hold on. No, I'll say thank you anyway, and I'll say thank you again next month.
All right, Madam Clerk, announcements.
Thank you, Mayor. Wednesday, November 16th is the Parks and Parkway Advisory Board at 7 p.m. Monday, November 21st is the Planning and Zoning Board at 6:30 p.m. Thursday and Friday, November 24th and 25th, all village departments are closed for Thanksgiving. Monday, December 5th, Planning and Zoning Board at 6:30 p.m. The next regular commission meeting is Tuesday, December 6th at 7 p.m., followed by a commissioner orientation workshop at 8 p.m.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you.